Welcome to Best Practices and Experiences for Transnational Learning, Integration and Language Learning. This is not just a podcast. It is an exploration of innovative ways to empower migrant children and their families. The AMIF Fund supports the initiative as part of the SCHOOLinHUB project aimed at creating a more welcoming society, proud to protect children's rights, and a more inclusive school as a cultural hub able to lead preschool children with a migrant background in learning a new language. Join us on this exciting journey to discover good practices that create connections between different countries.
Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Language and Integration, the Swedish Experience. I'm Sheila, and today we'll explore one of the most important tools for successful integration in Sweden, which is language learning. Joining us is our guest, Wendy Muleshe, a language educator and expert in language acquisition. Wendy, welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here, and I'm looking forward to diving into this topic.
In today's episode, we'll cover how language learning plays a central role in the integration process, the language education programs available in Sweden, and why learning Swedish can unlock so many opportunities for newcomers. Let's get started. We start with the importance of language learning for migrants, and to kick things off, let's talk about the importance of language in integration. Wendy, why is learning Swedish such a key component for migrants in Sweden?
So learning Swedish is essential because it directly affects a migrant's ability to integrate into society. Without proficiency in the language, many aspects of daily life, such as shopping, using public transport, and reading official documents, become challenging. For those seeking employment also, Swedish proficiency is often a requirement, even in industries where English is commonly spoken. Additionally, language is closely tied to culture, and understanding Swedish allows migrants to grasp cultural norms, humor, and social etiquette. So beyond practical benefits, speaking the language fosters a sense of belonging and helps migrants feel less isolated.
And how does language proficiency impact employment opportunities?
So employment is one of the main drivers of successful integration, and for migrants with professional backgrounds such as doctors, engineers, or teachers, learning Swedish is even more critical. Many highly skilled professionals find themselves underemployed because they lack the language skills to work in the field. Some companies offer workplace language training, but the burden is mostly on the employee to learn Swedish before applying for the job. Another challenge is that job interviews and CVs and cover letters as well are in Swedish, and they're typically making language skills essential before securing employment is a necessity.
And how does language learning affect access to healthcare and social services?
So, language barriers can make navigating the healthcare system in Sweden difficult for migrants because while interpreters are available for medical appointments, not everyone knows how to request one, and there can be long wait times. So this often leads to miscommunication between doctors and patients, which can affect the quality of the health care received. And also, many migrants struggle to understand medical prescriptions or appointment letters or even the healthcare procedures due to the complexity of Swedish.
And does learning Swedish affect children after their school experience?
Yes, it does, because learning Swedish has a profound impact on children, especially those who arrive in Sweden at a young age. Children typically acquire new languages faster than adults, particularly when immersed in a school setting. Though if parents do not learn Swedish alongside their children, it can create a communication gap at home. So this can lead to challenges where children become more responsible for translating important information to their parents, and unnecessary pressure on them. And in schools, Swedish proficiency determines the academic success because all subjects are taught in Swedish. So children who struggle with the language may find it difficult to keep up with the lessons or even complete their assignments. And also making friends can be difficult if the language barrier exists, which can affect a child's confidence and social integration. So encouraging bilingual learning. So where parents learn Swedish alongside their children can help bridge the gaps and create a smoother integration process for the whole family.
And how does language learning contribute to a sense of belonging in Sweden?
Language is deeply tied to identity and social inclusion. So when migrants learn Swedish, they feel more connected to the culture and people around them. And it allows them to participate in conversations or engage in social activities and also understand the Swedish traditions. So without language skills, many migrants feel like outsiders, unable to fully engage with the society they live in. And that sense of exclusion can lead them to loneliness or even frustration.
Okay. I also want us to discuss the Swedish language programs. Sweden has a reputation for offering robust language programs for migrants. Can you walk us through the most popular ones? For example, I know one for the SFI, Swedish for Immigrants. What is the Swedish for Immigrants program and who can join?
Okay. Well, the Swedish for Immigrants program is a government-funded language program available to all migrants who are at least 16 years old and registered as residents in Sweden. So the program is free of charge and designed to help newcomers learn Swedish from the beginner to advanced levels. And SFI classes are divided into different tracks depending on a student's prior education and language background. So this ensures that learners with different needs receive instructions at a suitable pace. Courses focus on communication skills, grammar, vocabulary, and of course the Swedish society, which helps the migrants navigate daily life in Sweden.
Thank you so much for that. And what are some of the alternative language learning options outside of SFI?
Okay. So while SFI, of course, is the most well-known program, there are several others that you can take to learn Swedish. Many community centers and non-profit organizations like yourselves offer free and low-cost courses in language. For example, of course, using local libraries often run language cafes, or where migrants can practice Swedish with native speakers in a relaxed setting. And these informal gatherings help learners to build confidence and also develop conversational skills without the pressure of formal exams. Then another option is private language schools, which offer structured courses for different proficiency levels. And these courses are not free, but they can be a good option for those who prefer smaller class sizes or a faster progress. And of course, many universities as well provide Swedish language courses for international students or professionals. And some workplaces also offer Swedish training for their employees. So yeah, there are different ways. And then for those who prefer the self-study, of course, there are online courses that can be offered by Fox University or Duolingo or Babbel, or even the Swedish Institute that are, of course, are viable resources. Yeah.
And how long does it typically take to become fluent in Swedish?
To become fluent in Swedish, that varies depending on a few factors. For example, prior language learning experience, maybe the age or even the exposure and the study methods that the students get. And according to the common European framework of reference for language, reaching a B2 level, which is an upper immediate in Swedish, is usually requiring 600 to 750 hours of study. Yeah. So this means that with regular study and practice, a motivated learner could reach a conversational fluency in about a year or so. However, sometimes fluency is not just about classroom learning, it's also dependent on daily exposure and practice. So migrants who actively use Swedish in their workplace or even social circles and even their daily lives, they often progress faster than those who just solely are on structured courses.
All right. And what are the benefits of attending a language cafe?
Yeah. So language cafes are informal gatherings where people can practice Swedish in a relaxed social environment. And these cafes are usually organized by community centers or even libraries or sometimes volunteer groups. And they offer a welcoming space for migrants, number one, which allows them to gain confidence in speaking Swedish without the fear of making mistakes. And one of the biggest advantages of the language cafes is that they provide exposure to different Swedish accents and speaking styles. So since many native Swedish speakers volunteer at the events, learners can practice understanding and natural speech, which can be challenging in classroom settings. But with the language cafes, there's a breakdown in social barriers, which allows migrants to connect with locals and also build friendships. So attending these cafes regularly can also help the learners to develop practical communication skills that are difficult to acquire from textbooks. For example, practicing how to order food in a restaurant or even asking for directions or just making small talk can significantly boost a learner's confidence. Yeah.
Okay, so and how do Swedish universities support international students in learning the language?
So many Swedish universities recognize the importance of language learning for international students, and some of them offer Swedish courses alongside their academic programs. So these courses are often free for enrolled students and are designed to help them navigate life. And some universities even provide incentives for those who choose to take the Swedish courses. And some of these courses are intensive because they start in the start of the academic year to help the student get a head start. So yeah, there are different ways, and these exchanges are beneficial because they provide real-life conversational practice in a relaxed setting. And also some universities I know host cultural events and discussion groups that promote language immersion. While many degree programs in Sweden are offered in English also, learning Swedish can be a major advantage for international students, especially those who plan to stay in the country after graduation. So being able to speak Swedish proficiently opens up more in terms of job opportunities and also help the students to build stronger social connections.
Okay, so while these programs are extensive, the real challenge is how quickly and effectively learners can acquire language skills. So learning a new language can be difficult, especially in a new country. But what are the main challenges you see migrants facing when trying to learn Swedish?
There are several significant challenges that we notice migrants face. One of them is the lack of time, of course, because many migrants are balancing jobs, childcare, or even adapting to a new life. And it makes it hard to dedicate time to studying. Unlike full-time students or working adults may only have a few hours per week to attend classes or even practice on their own. So this slow pace of learning can lead to a frustration in terms of getting to speak the language. And another challenge would be the pronunciations and grammar, which can be difficult for speakers of certain languages. For example, Swedish has vowel sounds that don't exist in many other languages, which can be tricky for beginners. Additionally, the word order and the sentence structure in Swedish may differ from the migrant natives and also lead to confusion for some of them. So yeah, the pronunciation and the grammar is definitely a challenge. And also the fact that there's social barriers also poses a challenge, because many migrants are hesitant to speak Swedish in public out of the fear that they don't want to make a mistake or they'll be judged. So this fear can prevent them from practicing the language, which in turn slows down their progress. And yeah, it's hard for them to grasp the language early on. So yeah, finally, I think regional dialects can also make it difficult to understand the language, because someone learning standard Swedish may struggle to understand people from different parts of the country. So yeah, there are parts of the country where accents are very distinct and very ingrown.
There's some things I didn't know as well, but now I'm learning from you. And how does the availability of language courses impact learning?
So access to language courses can greatly affect how quickly and effectively migrants learn Swedish. While the Swedish for Immigrants program is widely available, there are often long waiting lists before you get in, especially in major cities like Stockholm or Gothenburg. This means that some migrants must wait for months before they're able to begin formal language education. And then for those of them who are living in rural areas, the problem is even more severe, because many smaller municipalities have limited course offerings, and migrants may need to travel long distances to attend their classes. Additionally, the quality of instruction varies from one municipality to another, because some SFI programs have highly qualified teachers and well-structured courses, while others just struggle with outdated teaching methods or lack support for students who need extra help. So a lack of practical and conversational practice in these courses can definitely be a problem, that many students live with good reading and writing skills but struggle with speaking and understanding spoken Swedish.
Thank you so much. And how do psychological factors affect language learning?
Psychological factors play a very crucial role in language acquisition. Number one, confidence and motivation are key. When migrants feel encouraged and supported, they are more likely to practice and improve. Though many migrants especially experience language anxiety, which can make them reluctant to speak for fear of making a mistake. And this anxiety often stems from a lack of self-esteem or negative experiences. Then also the fact that the migrants, some of them come in with past trauma or stress that can affect their learning. And most of them have experienced difficult circumstances before arriving in Sweden. And the mental strain of understanding and adjusting to a new country can make it harder to focus on the language studies. Some are depressed, some come and they get homesick, and there's a social isolation that can also reduce a person's ability to absorb new information. And then I think I can also add that age and cognitive flexibility impacts how easily someone can learn. Younger learners especially tend to pick up languages more naturally, while adults may struggle more with retention and pronunciation. Though a positive learning environment and social support and regular exposure can help overcome these psychological barriers. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And what role does the Swedish environment play in learning?
So, the linguistic environment in Sweden is both of a help and hindrance for language learners. On one hand, being surrounded by Swedish science, media, and conversations gives migrants constant exposure to the language, which is very beneficial. But on the other hand, the high level of English proficiency among Swedes can sometimes slow down the learning. And many Swedes switch to English when they hear someone struggling with Swedish, which can prevent learners from getting much needed practice. And also in some workplaces, English is the primary language of communication, so it's making it hard to learn Swedish for the migrants.
All right. And how do different learning styles affect language acquisition?
Okay. So everyone has a unique learning style, and understanding one's preferred method can make language learning more effective. Visual learners benefit from watching the videos, using flashcards, and reading texts with images. Auditory learners, those ones are the ones who listen, and some of them use radio or podcasts or even music. And then there's the kinesthetic learners who learn by doing, often progress faster when they engage in interactive activities like the role-playing, conversations, or even participating in real-life situations. So some migrants struggle with traditional classroom settings, especially if they have low literacy skills. And for these learners, practical experience-based learning, such as talking to people in shops, taking part in community events, or using language learning apps with speech recognition, can be more effective.
All right. And despite these obstacles, there are ways to overcome them. And there is the effective language learning strategies. And what can learners do to overcome these challenges and improve their Swedish skills faster?
So there are a few strategies that can significantly help migrants improve their Swedish language. Number one is consistency. Practicing the language every day, even for just a short period, is important. Even if it's just reading the newspaper or watching Swedish TV shows, or even practicing with a friend or regular, it's a good exposure in terms of language learning. And then there's also language immersion, where the more you surround yourself with the language, the better. This could be through practicing speaking activities like joining clubs or even attending the language cafes. And then, of course, socializing is an aspect where speaking to Swedish natives for even just short conversations can dramatically influence you in terms of grasping the language. And then finally, using the apps or any form of online courses, so like Duolingo or even listening to Swedish podcasts, can be helpful.
And thank you so much. What are the best ways to practice Swedish outside classroom?
So practicing Swedish out of classroom is good, very good. We really encourage it. One of the best ways is immersions, where you surround yourself with the language as much as possible. And this can include watching Swedish TV shows, listening to Swedish radio, or reading Swedish newspapers and even books. Even if you don't understand everything at first, exposure helps with the comprehension and the pronunciation. So yeah, that should be good.
Thank you. maybe we could go to how can learners stay motivated when learning Swedish? Because I think it really takes time for them to learn, and there are migrants or just new learners who don't know the language. So what really motivates them when they learn Swedish?
Okay. So yeah, staying motivated is quite challenging, especially when you feel like your progress is slow. One way you can stay engaged is, of course, setting goals realistically. And this could be in short term, where you can tell yourself you'll learn 20 new words per week, or in long term, where you can, of course, pass an official Swedish language test like the SFI or Swedix. And another way to motivate yourself as well is making learning enjoyable, because if you watch Swedish movies, if you listen to Swedish music, or even you play video games in Swedish, that can make studying very engaging and fun. So, and in these ways, you'll have a way to also help track your progress and keep up with the language, in terms of if you can find a way to have a journal or even record voice notes or compare the pronunciations over time, that would also be good as motivation.
And how can learners improve their Swedish pronunciation? Because I know it takes time for them to even learn how to pronounce the specific words. And you might find someone who does not know how to speak English very fluently. So I really need to know how can learners improve their pronunciation.
Yeah. Well, number one, like for those ones who are using the TV shows and the podcasts, mimicking the native speakers is a very good technique in terms of getting the right pronunciations. So for those who are able to watch the news or even watch videos on YouTube, you get the feel of the intonations of the words, and also you get a clear understanding on the pronunciations. You can also use tools like Google Translate, where you're able to get the person translate and pronounce the word, and you just mimic what they say. So this easily helps learners to hear the words being pronounced properly.
All right, I think that's a good one. I hope people will learn through that. And you've mentioned some great strategies, but beyond the classroom, what role does Swedish society play in helping newcomers improve their language skills?
Well, Swedish communities are a good base in terms of helping migrants to learn and practice Swedish. One of the most effective ways is how welcoming the environments can be, where migrants are able to feel comfortable practicing the language. And we have many local organizations and churches and cultural centers that organize the language cafes, where migrants feel they're able to relax in an informal setting and also learn the language. So this makes it easier to learn, and this is how the Swedish society is playing a role. Number two is also the fact that there are public libraries which support language learning, offered by the books, the audiobooks and newspapers, and also conversation groups within the libraries. Sorry. Another great initiative is mentorship programs, where Swedes volunteer to help newcomers to practice Swedish.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up, I think I should touch base on one or two things. What are the strategies that help these migrants learn Swedish quickly?
Learning Swedish quickly. Well, number one, speaking Swedish daily would be a good strategy. Even if you make mistakes, just speak regularly, and that will build confidence. Number 2 is surrounding yourself with Swedish speakers. Of course, friends, colleagues, and social activities like the cafe helps reinforce the learning. And then, of course, the fact that there's use of Swedish media like the TV shows, the radio, and books, which can improve your vocabulary, is also a good way to help you learn Swedish quickly. And finally, getting involved within the Swedish society. So allowing yourself to volunteer or join clubs or take part in activities locally, that would be good in terms of learning faster.
Thank you. And as we wind up, what advice do successful migrants give to Swedish new learners or to Swedish migrants that just coming into the country? Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll speak for myself. Number 1, don't be afraid to make mistakes, and be patient and consistent with yourself, and also use every opportunity you have to practice in small interactions like ordering coffee or getting to know someone. Find a Swedish speaking person or friend or mentor and have them assist you in terms of learning. And of course, enjoy the process. It's quite hard, but it's really enjoyable.
Thank you so much. So to recap, learning Swedish is essential for a smooth integration process. While there are challenges, Sweden's robust language programs, combined with practical strategies and societal support, are helping to break down these barriers and build stronger and more integrated communities. If you're interested to learn more about language programs in Sweden or want to connect with the guest or the language learning community, we'll update this on our website and we'll share the link. And thanks again to our very able guest, Wendy, for sharing expertise today.
You're welcome.
And thank you to the listeners or our listeners for tuning in, or who will listen to this podcast, The Language and Integration, which is the Swedish experience. Thank you so much and have a great day ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your precious time with us. Keep in touch and follow the updates on the website www.SCHOOLinHUBproject.eu. Stay tuned and help us with your suggestions to build a more inclusive society.